Hello and welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. I am your host, Kendra Losee with Mota Marketing. And given the events of the last few weeks, I felt it was necessary to pause on the normal schedule. And so I reached out to the fabulous Mskindness B Ramirez of Club Kindness and asked her if she would jump on and join me here today. Mskindness is an educator, a business owner, and very active in the cannabis community, particularly in the issues of social equity and justice in the cannabis space. And so I thought she would be the perfect guest to join us today, and I was very excited when she agreed to do it. So thank you and welcome, Mskindness.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kendra, for asking.
Of course,
Asking me to do this.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you here. For those of you guys that are watching, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Miss Kindness, I have several questions that people messaged me about, and Miss Kindness is here to answer our questions and the questions of you guys. So please drop them in the comments, and we are here. All right, so let's get started. First of all, Miss Kindness, like I said, I'm just so appreciative that you're here. How are you doing?
I am much better today than I have been for the last couple of weeks. And that's a true raw statement. I woke up happier today. I'm generally a happy person. So this pain that we are feeling now, I think, as a globe in a much more intense way, I have always felt every day underlying in my life as a Black woman and as a Black human, or as an identified Black human, which we may talk about. But I'm much better today, and I'm smiling. And we were joking before we got on here, so I said I'm smiling now. This is good because I might start crying in a minute. I'm good. I'm ready to have these talks. I'm excited to have these talks. I feel empowered to have these talks, and I'm just letting the kind of spirit flow through me. So
I love
I'm
it.
excited.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to keep saying thank you. Sorry. So
Gratitude wins. Hashtag, y'all. Okay, for real. Like, we need to be saying yes and thank you a lot more often. So
absolutely.
thank you. You're welcome.
So what do you need right now in terms of everything going on? You mentioned you're happier today than yesterday. What's causing that shift for you, and what do you need right now?
So I'll speak about me personally, and I will say that my belief is that we are all connected. So when I say I mean we, and I'll identify sometimes if I'm really just talking about me personally. But I think what you mean in that question is really like a more collective sense of we, and I think you mean Black people.
Yes.
So we need some time. Personally, I have taken that time, right, to just check in with myself, check in with my elders, check in with my teachers, and see where we're at, and how are we feeling, and what are we sharing. And we're still taking that time. But during that time, there are other things going on. Like, there are moments when I have rage and I'm yelling around my house, like, I can't believe something I just heard that's happening on the news. I need to be able to do that. And I need to be able to talk about it in my circles right now, around me, whenever the hell I want. I need to say to my white-skinned Latina friends, yo, this is bothering me. And even if she doesn't feel that same pain and she just wants to party and have champagne, she needs to let me. That needs to happen right now, a lot. And then I need to continue to see what I'm seeing, which I feel is good, that there's this, it's media, of course, right? So right now, it's a lot of vocal, visual, media support. I like it. It feels good. I think I've seen around me that other Black people who are, who share my sentiment or in my circle, whatever, colleagues, other, like I said, mentors, elders that I look up to, they see it too. What's happening now is this shift from, okay, now I need you to do what you're saying you're going to do. So that's what I need. I need all those things, right? And I need all those things simultaneously. But we all need all those things. This opportunity I feel like we have to keep this fire burning, and I mean that in the figurative sense, not the literal sense. Keep this fire burning is to put in motion all these things we're saying hoorah online about.
Absolutely. No, and thank you, because I think that's really helpful. I know it's helpful for me, and it's helpful for a lot of people. We're starting off cannabis a little bit, and we'll go back to the topic, but I think that one of the things.
Oh, cannabis needs to be at the forefront of this. Like,
Oh yeah, no, it's the next question. My first question was about you. I think that
I need a hug. I need a lot of hugs because this COVID, like, it's like the extroverts. Like, yeah, check on your extrovert friends, y'all. Like, I need a hug.
That's a true story. Oh my gosh. We have the extrovert phone chain going all the time, or Skype, Zoom chain going. Okay, so one of the things that, and talking to Mskindness about having her on, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, is cannabis, and is race in the cannabis industry. There's a tremendous history of race in the cannabis industry, and there's so many new people who've come in that I don't know how much they know. And I don't know how much, when you say social equity and justice and making sure people are aware of it, can you talk about that a little bit in terms of what is social equity? We don't have enough time to go into the history of race in the cannabis industry, but if we look at the war on drugs and if we look at social equity, can you speak to some of your work and some of that you've seen in terms of what social equity is and why it's so important as part of our industry?
Yeah, I mean, I can give a succinct definition of social equity. So social equity is within the framework of cannabis, and actually any field. It's same term applies, but it is a system by which we allow for those who have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, and those people are disproportionately Black and brown. We allow them entry into the cannabis space via less barrier. So that looks like some affirmative programs, like less fees, reduced fees, support, infrastructure support, training, hiring requirements or hiring efforts, right? Local jurisdiction or local advantages, depending on like where you live regionally. And this applies to obtaining a license or starting a cannabis business. And it's happening regionally, it's happening in cities. Oakland had a wonderful program. LA had a great attempt at a wonderful program.
It looked good for a while.
I'm trying to make friends here. So essentially it is it's a reparative structure that allows for people who have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs to enter the cannabis space with less barrier. And that word equity is really important. It's not the same as equality. They do not mean the same thing.
Right.
So if you're starting a race and you've got to jump over 4 walls, plus go through the spiked courtyard, the thorn bushes of roses, and then dig a hole before you come out of that hole on the other side to get to the same end of the race that somebody has a green pasture to run through, we are not equitable.
Right.
So you have to remove those barriers. And I don't have enough time to teach you the whole history of racism in America, but I did just post a video on my page. It's a nice cartoon, like teacher created, that really explains like this is why Black people are where they are today. So anyone who is denying that, watch the video. Cannabis, you asked me, cannabis is a microcosm of the whole damn world, right? So we used it to vilify the Black community. We took away freedoms with this plant. A couple of activists got together and started to create some change. And then big business or big brother came in and said, opportunity, we've already got the established wealth, so let's go in and take this as well. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are now with cannabis.
Yes, we are. Thank you. And you actually answered my next question, because I was going to ask if there were any cities like Oakland that you thought were doing well with social equity programs.
To be honest, Oakland is the best example I've seen. I do want to give a little shout out to myself and my friends and my colleagues in Pomona. Woo woo!
Go.
Miranda Sheffield, she's running for District 6 Council right now. I had intended to run in District 1 alongside her, but made some changes. Long story short, last year, Pomona decided they were going to legalize. We went in there, we organized. Some of my friends came out, Felicia, Bo, I mean, they showed up. Kika, we had people coming all the way from LA, and I'm about 45 miles out, y'all who don't know that we're a suburb outside of LA. Okay, and that's a little bit of a drive in LA traffic. They came out for 6:30, 7 p.m. city council meetings, town halls that we got on the mic every time. And we had a big win in Pomona social equity. They increased their hiring rates, gave waiver of fees for social equity applicants with a local hiring and local entry incentives. It extra points on the scale that was merit-based that we couldn't get changed, but they adjusted the point system. Just some real progressive work. And this is a primarily Black and brown city. Our mayor is Latino, and he was fighting us, but we went into some meetings in his office and we got some stuff done. So I'm really proud of that. Pomona, for a small city, they're only opening 8 licenses to start. Huge win. Huge win.
But at least those 8 licenses are starting the right way.
We will see. So again,
hopefully, at least they're close to starting.
Opportunity. I'll tell you, they took 30 applications. Majority of them are they look like what happened in LA, to be frank.
Okay.
We saw people walking through the streets of Pomona, literally tapping people on the shoulder saying, "Do you live here and have you had a prior conviction?" So it did kind of look like it. But you know, that it's important that attorneys, I know we're going to get into this, like, what can I do? What can my business do? It's important that attorneys be looking out for these predatory contracts. Make yourself be known if you are advocating for the POC community and willing to help these applicants. Make yourself be known.
That's a really good tip, because there are, and I heard about that a lot in LA, was the, bringing on the partner for social equity in order to check the box and get the dispensary up, because, dollars.
Yep.
Dollars. So, and you took us, I love interviewing you always, because you just take me right to the next question.
Watch out, Oprah.
I know, exactly. I know, next time you're going to be the one hosting and interviewing. So as business owners, are there are more opportunities for us to speak up now and support people of color? What do you wish that business owners would be doing?
So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to take it back one step and say, I think this is what I want to honor, that you have called me to do this. Yesterday, Toketivity, Women Empowered in Cannabis, White Buffalo called me to do this. And by this, I mean, talk to a primarily white audience about what can we really actively be doing to give back. Yep. And so I want to say thank you for that, because we need our white allies. We have said, we've seen, Black people need to invest in Black business and we can rebuild. Yes, one tiny thing. That's one tiny thing we need to do. But realistically, we cannot get this done without white allyship. So this is big, and I want to again see this turn into action. So I'm excited about that. What can we as cannabis businesses do? We were at the forefront of a new industry. We are here right now. As much as we've already seen the sort of white khaki pants brigade takeover, we're still, do you remember that term?
Oh my gosh. I remember the term, but I remember all of them at MJ BizCon. One year they weren't there, and all of a sudden the next year they multiplied like rabbits.
Yeah. So we are still at that mercy, but we are really at the beginning too. I mean, we're still rolling out programs, and they're evolving and licensing and everything, So we have an opportunity to really show every industry how it should be done. And that's through real reparative structural supports and changes. And I mean reparations. Now, I just said that word. Take the dollar signs out of your head. I'm not saying white people should be writing Black people checks. I'm talking about reparative structures. I'm talking about programs like social equity. And yes, I am talking about affirmative actions or affirmative supports. So for businesses, they have a specific role. For teachers, they have a specific role. For taxpayers and parents and homeowners, they have a specific role, right? We can do a lot of things. One thing I want to see happen is I want to see that the dollars that go to schools do not come from property taxes in the community.
Right.
All schools should receive the same amount of money. Yep. One thing I want to see on the business side is the business employee workforce represents the community, the diversity of the community. Mm-hmm. So you should have at least 13% Black people on your staff. You should have at least that on your staff. Mm-hmm. You should be seeking that. You should be creating programs to develop diverse workforces, right? You should have a committee dedicated to that on your team.
Absolutely. Yesterday.
You should care.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, no. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say yesterday in the networking session with Tokativity and everybody, one of the great conversations that I was able to jump in on was listening to Kadisha talk about the internship and training program and mentorship programs that she's been working on and just how critical they are as well, which is a whole other critical option.
It's education. So here's one of the things, like we're not going to get anywhere without education. You said earlier, like these new people coming into cannabis, we're not so sure that they know the history. Are they hip to social equity? We have to teach them. Mm-hmm. So that's what Club Kindness is. I mean, we work directly with consumers. I'm really focused on consumer education. How do I use cannabis? How do I use it to get healthy? And I always slip into every consultation a little bit of data about why cannabis was illegal, why it's what this current legal status is, and how we got here. I'm going to slip that into every conversation. I don't care what you look like or sound like on the other end of that phone. I'm going to slip it in. Those are just responsible things to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Somebody actually, Shelly is listening, watching, and she brought up a really good point, which is in the next section of our questions, is calling out employers whose hiring ads don't show diversity. I think it's taking it a step farther, and that's what you just were saying, 13% of your workforce. If I'm me personally, if I'm looking at a company that I want to work with, if it is, and I hate to say this, but if it is all white male, I am not going to even look twice again.
Wow.
Yep.
It's like terrifying.
If it's white male and the only woman is in HR, I'm still probably going to shoot out the other way.
Mm-hmm. The first thing we have to do is, and I skipped over this. The first thing we have to do is the soul work, right? That's the very first thing we have to do. Because there's a reason, if your staff is 90% white, and you've got like one Asian, one Latina, and the one light-skinned Black girl, no shade to the light-skinned Black girls. That was not colorism. I swear to God, I'm talking about what a real workforce looks like. You know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I'm representing, for all of us out here.
Thank you.
All the brown girls. But if your workforce looks like that, you need to check your own implicit bias. You need to do some soul work. There's a reason why no resumes came across your desk that were qualifying. It's impossible. I don't believe it. What we know is that there is this implicit bias that we all have. Mm-hmm. Like, Asians are smart, right? This stupid stereotypes, whether they be flattering or not.
Right.
We have them. So we know, as a part of the system that we call racism, resumes come across the desk. Again, watch the video on my timeline right now, but Jamal doesn't get the phone call, but Peter does. Mm-hmm. Right? Sam does. Mm-hmm. Jack does. So we have to think about that. If your workforce looks like that, you need to sit down right now and start over. You need to be like, hold up. I've got 100 employees and only 2 of them are Black. I did something wrong.
Yep.
I did something wrong.
And
your ads will then show that because your staff won't let you place ads that don't look like that.
Well, and it's not just that, right? And the video on your timeline actually is incredible, and I recommend it to everybody. I was going to share it out, but I got busy getting ready. So I think it's also if your HR and if your HR department's not opening up doors and paying attention, it's going to go into, it's all part of the company culture. It's all part of, it all ties together so strongly.
You asked me earlier about money spent, like where should we spend money? Like where should we be donating our dollars? Mm-hmm. And this kind of builds into this business, what businesses can do. I'm a big, huge corporation. I want to know where to give my dollars. Mm-hmm. First thing that comes to mind is the NAACP. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not shading the NAACP, but I suspect their budget is doing all right. But what's happening right in your backyard is what you need to be focused on. 1, you need to ask your Black employees where that money should go. Two, you could set up some sort of program within the infrastructure of your own company that begins to provide some sort of support services for your employees of color. Set up a committee, give some dollars to that. Create a 501c3 off the arm of your own business that supports Black and brown in the community right around you. That lends to hiring efforts specifically, right? What are you doing for the children of your employees? I bet you they need some tutoring right now because they didn't go to school for the last 3 months. You know, think about what can I do right here with the money I have. I feel like real change has to happen in the communities right around us. We keep saying the president's not doing this, the president's not doing that. When's the last time you went to the local library and volunteered to read to kids?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. And you know, you bring up an interesting thing. One of the things that I was talking about earlier this week is that there's a vacuum at the top levels of the country right now when it comes to leadership. And so one, it creates opportunities for others to step in, but two, it puts more emphasis and more onus on each of us to actually rely on our local organizations, rely on the resources that we find ourselves, because it's not coming from the top as we're used to.
It's not. Those are some big, I mean, there are big initiatives from the top that we need to change. Like I mentioned earlier about property taxes paying for schools, and that's big, right? That's a huge, that's a constitutional change, y'all. That's a constitutional.
Yeah, it's a huge change.
But it is a game changer. I want you to imagine that we give every school, every public school in the nation, the same amount of federal funds. Okay. At first, the schools that are already doing well are going to keep doing well, but over time, there's going to be this change, this redistribution, and that might take 2-3 generations, right? I will see it before I die, but my children will benefit. My children's children will benefit from it more so, because we'll see that a high rent district shouldn't have worse schools just because there's less property taxes going into them. Then we create these systems like Title I, and then we say, oh, because you have underperforming kids, so you get more money over here. But then we know that those parents don't go to the school board meeting, so they're not going to vote on what to do with those dollars. Trust me, I know this stuff. This is what I do. I'm a teacher. So that's really what I do, guys. I'm a teacher.
I know, and that's why I just love our conversations, because both of us with teaching backgrounds, like, yes, education. What can we do? Please.
Imagine what you could do if you knew what you could do.
Absolutely. And I think that's been one of the things, right? Like, I know personally, I'm one of those people who I will read everything I can get my hands on, and I will study and I will learn. And then it's the challenge of figuring out what to do with that information, right? Like, what to do with all that knowledge. And that's, I think, where, you know, we all get stuck in different places of trying to help and what we can do. And I think that, you know, a lot of us are I'm speaking larger, but, you know, I think we get stuck in different spots and education.
And that's where you have to look at your skills. Like, you teach marketing, so you understand the educational infrastructure, right? But you do marketing. So I'm a teacher, but now I'm teaching. I don't know, like I'm teaching cannabis. It doesn't matter, whatever I teach, it's about what's the pedagogy, right? But in the case of marketing, like, that's like a really wonderful way to reach everyone, especially with the internet. I joke, I love the internet so much, because like, you can find anything in there. So people are like, where do I find you? I'm like, in the internet, you know? So I love it so much, but it also is dangerous if people don't know how to comprehend what they're reading, how to discern the information coming at them. Young people who do not yet have the developmental brain power to discern what's coming at them, and making decisions fly by night, like this cancer culture. Like, oh, I saw it one day, I know this now, I'm an expert, right?
Yep.
Google experts. So marketers have a unique responsibility of being exceptional educators.
Yeah.
Because you are having to really get at somebody in like a few seconds and get them to understand a myriad of things. And that's a great responsibility.
And we were talking about this before we started and went live, is the power of just images, right? I was saying that my Facebook feed, right, and Instagram, it's customized to me. And so whenever I saw pictures of people of color, it would stand out a little bit more, which, you know, but now every ad is. And for me, I don't know if it was just that I wasn't seeing them before and they were on someone else's feed, or if advertisers are jumping on a bandwagon that they see right now and trying to figure out what they can take advantage of. Do you have any advice for someone that's starting to see that and starting to try and figure out just what the company's values are, and if they're jumping on a bandwagon or if they're actually, it's true to what they believe in?
Absolutely. I mean, for one, I think it's a great thing to observe and understand the way we think. So back to that soul work, like learning how we think is important. How do I process? Where are my implicit biases? What do I notice coming across my screen? So age-old story, we know. If you don't know, this is how Black kids have felt their entire life. Every single thing on my TV screen was white, except for the Cosby Family and Bill Cosby. So now, where's my heroes, right? So that, to just notice that. It's possible that it is a shift in media because we're on this Black Lives Matter marketing tip right now, but I don't want that to go away. Let's keep doing that. Right. It's possible that your algorithm has changed because you too are doing more research on this right now, and so it's starting to come to you. We talked about this. I'm not sure it matters. If you notice it, how do we find out the values of that company? Again, we're teachers. Do some research, right? As soon as this ad comes up, I've never noticed this before. Click, 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 click. I can go see if their last 40 Instagram pictures were all white or not, right? And then I can go to their website and see what their value statement is. Businesses, cannabis, because we have an opportunity to be at the forefront of really rewriting history, y'all. That's really important. I want to be a part of that, and I think we need to make that happen. If your marketing does not reflect your company values, we will find you. Period. We will find you in the internet. So it just needs to be that simple and direct, that I should have no problem determining that, oh, this ad is reflective of your values because it's coming across in the nomenclature, your language you're using online. I can see it. It's clear.
Absolutely. And I think this goes back to the HR comment earlier, is that, you know, company culture and values and having diversity as part of that, it comes across all across the board. It's not just marketing images. You don't get to do just marketing images and check that box. You don't just get to do hiring images and check that box. It's all across the board.
I suspect that there are people who might be feeling some implicit bias right now watching this and getting a little offended by some of the things I say. I think that's wonderful. I think you need to be offended by some of the things I say, and then you need to go, let me ask myself why. Why are you offended if I said you should establish a committee that's committed to hiring Black people? Why does that offend you? It must mean that your workforce doesn't have any Black people on it.
Because then you don't.
I just took a little dig at your values.
Right, because if there's no Black people, you have no committee. Yeah. You got to start somewhere. Absolutely. So as we're getting close to the last few questions, I wanted to bring in some of the questions that people sent to me. The first one, there's three. So the first one is, what can we do as business owners to support and take some of the load off the Black community and Black, our Black allies?
Put your freaking money where your mouth is, okay? If you've got an excess in your budget, if you've got a profit margin, a percentage of that profit should be going directly to an organization that supports a reparative structural norm. Right? I don't care where it is. You could put it into a local PAC, political organization that's supporting legislative changes for reparative structure. You can put it into a program within your own organization that teaches the young students of your staff, right? And incorporates programming of racial history and economics in our country. I don't care if you start a new business with a person of color. Right? Give an opportunity with some of your wealth. Hire Black and brown with intention. Set a system in your HR that erases the names on the resumes. Test yourself. Right? Cross out those names and see if it changes who you end up interviewing. There's a way to see your implicit bias right in your face.
It's a great idea.
things you can just do like right now. Again, you got to start with the soul work. I'm not talking about, oh, let's roll out these programs tomorrow. This is going to take generations.
Mm-hmm. And we don't like to move slowly. We want it now, Mskindness.
Oh, that's the quickening. It's the internet.
So the second question I got was, what are some of the reasons, and we've seen a ton of these lists, so you can feel free to direct this person wherever, but what are resources that we can use for learning about this stuff so we don't have to bug our POC friends about it? I know everyone's...
Oh, I got to stop you, Kendra. This question, whoever this is, don't be scared. You can say black, okay? You are not bugging me to ask me what I need.
All right.
I want you to take that fear out of your energy, and I want you to approach your black and brown brothers and sisters with confidence, and I want you to not be afraid of all the stupid Karen videos on the internet. Be sincere when you ask us, and we will feel it.
Love it.
Okay, now I'm also going to answer the question. Literature is key. I absolutely suggest Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. She does an amazing job, well written, easy to read, at a level that even your teenagers can take in and comprehend well. It's just a really well done book of a survey of the history of how we've gone from slavery quickly to Jim Crow to the new Jim Crow. And these are the laws and policies that, if you know me and you hear me speak, I'm really passionate about changing. Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow. Layla writes a book. Her last name, it escapes me. I have a list on my timeline, Mskindness B. I'll put it up. I also have some other books for just learning Black history.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest you read books that are written by people of color or POC authors. It's the worst thing. I think one of the worst things we all hate, I don't know if there are Black people that disagree with me, is when somebody who's not Black tries to tell you what Black is. So definitely read books that are written by people of color. White Fragility is a great book. But yeah, I have some lists that I've actually been sharing, so I'll do that
as
well. But
please.
Read The New Jim Crow.
New Jim Crow, White Fragility, and there's a huge list, and I know that Rachel Cargill's had a ton of resources and things available on her Facebook page and Instagram and everywhere, her website as well. But there's a ton of lists out there, but I think the first part of that, your answer, was really important, because I know a lot of people who are afraid to ask right now because they don't want to offend, they don't want to put that burden on. There's a lot of people are being quiet versus risking offending anybody.
So you do need to risk, you need to sacrifice. We need to feel that, right? I honor your fear, rightfully so, because you don't know with us right now. You might be damned if you do, damned if you don't, because we want help, but
Mm-hmm.
then we say things like, well, they have a white savior complex if they're helping. So sincerity, authenticity, you need to be explicitly clear about your intentions, and you need to back them up. I mean, we want our white allies to help us equate, right? This is what I'm talking about. Like, you got to put these supports in place. When you took our land, we took our freedom, right? We let us be free. Then we said, not yet, you're only 3/5 of a human. Then we said, okay, you can have your own stuff. Then we said, oh, but you can't vote if you can't read. Oh, then, you know what I mean? It's just like these little steps. Like, let's just, you want to build some wealth? Now we're going to burn that down. Oh, you want to do open loans? Okay, but only over there where it's bad. Like, so we need to extremely implement infrastructure to repair that, so we get to a point where proportionately we have equitable wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not talking about white people writing Black people checks. I'm talking about real reformative action. And that means changing the Constitution.
Absolutely. I mean, and honestly, checks are helpful, but they're not going to help. They're not long term, right? It's a drop in the bucket compared to the actual change that needs to happen.
You write me a check, but I still don't know how to balance my checkbook because I have no financial literacy, because I went to crappy schools, because the schools are paid for by property taxes.
Yep. Nope, absolutely. So the last question that someone sent over is, What is the one thing that you'd want white allies to know, to do, or to stop doing?
Well, um,
The big question.
gosh, I'm a Buddhist. That's a hard question. What is what is. No. What I want, what I want our white allies to do is go out and make some new friends that are people of color. And when I say friend, I mean the word friend. And that takes time and that takes intention. And there's a vetting process that must go on. I want you to ask them what they need, meet them where they are, and ask them to do the same for you. I want you to be patient, and I want you to be sincere. Um, what I do not want you to do, and I don't like to focus on the don'ts, I like to focus on the do's, um, is the opposite of any of those things.
Don't not do those things. Okay, perfect. As we wrap up, I normally end with a speed round, but I'm going to set that aside right now. As we wrap up, are there any...
Let's do a speed round.
You want to do a speed round first? All right, let's do it. Okay, so speed round. What are your favorite cannabis products?
So Platinum Genetics is my favorite genetic line. They are working on getting their license, but the genetics are superior.
Nice.
Edibles, Wild. Oh my God, those gummies are shit.
I haven't tried those.
WYLD.
I haven't seen
well
those.
dosed, well done, cute packaging, positive messages inside, women owned, wonderful brand. I don't really vape, y'all.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
The authentic.
And of course, EBK Apothecary. I take my CBD tinctures every single day.
Yes, I was going to give you a chance to talk about that as well. So my next question is, what media, so books, publications, podcasts, are you currently consuming?
I'm stuck on NPR. I'm a sustaining member, NPR junkie. I have the app KPCC on my phone. I listen to it all the time. My kids listen to it. So This American Life. Oh my gosh, my dog. I just made my dog start barking. You guys
No worries.
This American Life. I love Radio Lab. I love. I listen to all of the shows, the syndicated shows. I love Terry Gross, her voice, and just how her interviewing style, and how she really talks to people from various cultures. Ira Glass, one of my favorites. So yeah, I'm an NPR nerd.
Nice.
So that's just where I get most of my podcasts from. I'm actually not reading as many books anymore. I have an extensive library. My son just got a Kindle, so every now and then I'll download a book, I'll skim it. But I just really, honestly, I read a lot of books. I've done a lot of studying. I'm getting my messages from God right now.
Perfect. No. Lean into it. Lean into it. And the last question is, tell us about Club Kindness. Is the first one. That's not a question, but I want you to, because I'm sneaking it into the speed round. What is Club Kindness?
We are a nonprofit organization who teaches new and existing consumers how to use cannabis in conjunction with other supportive therapies for improved health and wellness. We will pair our members with what we call friendly healthcare professionals to help guide them along their journey. So coaching services, responsible brands, we have on a responsible brands registry. We'll make suggestions, if you're looking for this, you can do that, and so forth. So consumer focused, how do you use cannabis? What should I be looking for? Where should I go? And then the social justice arm, we throw events. We used to. Soon they'll be back. But we would raise money and, of course, contribute to causes that we felt worthy of, our money.
Love it. And where can people, I'm going to put your contact information below you while you're talking. So I'm going to give you two questions now, so that way people have time to see your contact information. Where can people reach you, and tell us about your podcast?
So Mskindness.com will be back up very soon, but you can find me if you just Google Ms. Kindness, Mskindness. Yes, that's really my real name. Instagram, Mskindness B, and it has links to everything else I'm working on. Elevated Chats is the second season of my podcast. It used to be called Sneaking in Silence. We've changed the format. I will be talking with everyone from celebrities to cannabis leaders. Essentially, we're having elevated chats with critical thought leaders. And we'll be talking about how cannabis inspires them in their process. And so these are not just people in the cannabis space. I've got some musicians, some athletes, really excited about this season of Elevated Chats. We're on iTunes. You can find us.
Love it. I loved the sneaking in silence, but I think the Elevated Chats is going to be equally.
Well, we're going to do a segment that's called Sneaking in Silence on the show.
Okay. Perfect. As we wrap up, any last words you'd like to share before we go?
No fear. Feel it, honor it, move it out of the way, and start where you are. That's it.
I love it. Thank you so much. You've been given some virtual hugs in the chat. You've been getting a lot of support and comments, so be sure and check those out afterward. Can't thank you enough for coming in. I appreciate it.
I'm so grateful to you, Kendra. Thank you.
Of course. All right.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye, guys.